That jammin' tune was by Monkey 3. The song was called Shine off of their latest disc, Prism. When I got their promo CD at the station, I hadn't heard them before, and I really dug what I heard. So I looked them up online. I said, oh, they probably have one or two other CDs out maybe, and they had like 8. So they've been around a while. So I've got some catching up to do. I think I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole. That noise wasn't you, it was me. Ardors before that with Truth off of Last Place on Earth, and the New Roses with Down by the River off of Nothing But Wild. That ends the music portion of the show for at least a while. You've been listening to Mostly Metal here on WVLP 103.1 FM. I'm Ken the Metal Professor, and I do have a split personality on Sunday nights where all weeks I play heavy metal and other music that I like, thus the name Mostly Metal. And then in some weeks, I also have the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program because that's another one of my hobbies. And every once in a while, I go to a show on a weekend and bring recording gear and record sounds and descriptions and then kind of compress it down for you. And what I did last night was go down to Michigan Town, Indiana, which is not Michigan City. It's Michigan Town, and set up the table with the recording gear and did that thing. And so in this edition of the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program, you will hear the delayed audio recap of that show. So now we turn into the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program.
Your insubordination will not be tolerated.
All right, this is the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program on WVLP. I'm Ken the Metal Professor, and last night I was in Michigan Town, Indiana for New Generation Wrestling's event called Michigan Town Madness, I think it was. I don't have the flyer up. It did have a name like that. There were 5 matches on the card. You're going to hear the audio from all of them and some descriptions. It's not all the audio of the whole thing because that would take like 2 hours. So it's bits and pieces of the show kind of put together, so hopefully it tells the story of what took place. I do have to make a couple of corrections on names. I go to these shows sometimes not knowing the full rosters, and last night in particular was a little hard to hear. This show was in the Michigan Town Community Center, and the ring was in the center of the room, and my table was set up kind of along a back wall right next to the sound table, and so the speakers that, say, the microphone from the ring was going to were sort of actually in front of me and broadcasting away from me into the room. And with the reverb and stuff, sometimes it was a little bit hard to understand a few syllables here and there. And so it wasn't until I was able to get back and do some editing with my headphones on that I got to hear things a little bit more clearly. So at one point, I think it's match number 2, you're going to hear me mention one of the combatants whose name I thought might have been Malice, but I believe it was Maddox. Or it could be neither. But I think, having re-listened, Maddox is probably a little bit closer. It starts with an M, whatever it is, because he had an M on his trunks. And then, in the third match right before intermission, Sabotage was making his debut. I know that name for sure because I've seen him before. His mouthy opponent, who came out and ran himself on the mic for a little bit before the match started, his name is Dalton Davis, and I got the Davis part right, but I don't think I got the Dalton part right. So apologies for that. So you're going to hear a couple of misnames. So just remember, Malice is not Malice. I believe he's Maddox. And when you hear the Sabotage and Davis match, Davis's first name is Dalton, not whatever the heck I said it was during the recording. All right, so I've dawdled enough. I've managed to switch my cable back from my laptop to my tablet where I have the audio files from the show. The first half will take about 20 minutes to get through. You know, it was like an hour and 15 minutes of real time, compressed down to 20 minutes for your listening enjoyment. And then we'll take a station break, and then the second half I think is going to go like 15 minutes. And then we'll probably have a little bit of time for more music before the end of the hour.
It's about
10 minutes before showtime here. It's Ken the Metal Professor representing WVLP in the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program. I'm down here in Michigan Town for New Generation Wrestling's event tonight, Saturday, June 22nd. I had not heard of Michigan Town before I saw the flyer for this card. It had been a while before I visited New Generation Wrestling, so I decided, what the heck, let's find out where Michigan Town is. Well, it turns out it's about 2 hours away from Valpo. It's east of Lafayette, north of Indianapolis, and almost outside my driving range for shows. My usual strategy is, as long as I spend more time watching the show as I spend in the car coming and going, it's a good deal. This one, I think I'll have spent a little more time in the car than watching the show, but it's all right. NGW is a great organization. They're always friendly to me, so I like to visit them anytime I can. One of the reasons I like going to wrestling shows in Indiana is the drive. Every once in a while, not in the winter so much, but going to new places like Michigan Town or Bourbon, Indiana, places that I wouldn't otherwise go. In the summertime, you get a nice, relaxing drive down country roads. So on the way here, I saw cows, I saw baby goats, I saw a kid riding a motor, what do you call them? Those little mini bikes that they go through the mud in. Yeah, one of those things. I saw a guy walking the fence on the perimeter of his front yard carrying a rifle. So yeah, definitely rural Indiana. So, as usual with these delayed audio coverages of shows, I'm going to shut up. When the show starts, I'll tell you what's going on, and you'll get to hear some audio kind of fading in and out, so you can hear the highlights of the show, learn what happened, and hopefully you'll check out wrestling shows live and in person at some point, so you can see them with your eyeballs and not just your ears.
Ladies and gentlemen, our following contest is scheduled for one fall. Introducing first, he hails from Tampa, Florida, Ace Anderson. He's got a opponent from Jamestown, Missouri, Excalibur.
So Ace Anderson and Excalibur teaming up.
First, he is the original Crisis Hotline from Lafayette, Indiana, Jamie Crisis. His opponent, ladies and gentlemen, from Boston, Massachusetts, he is the Warfare, Jeremy Hadley.
And Jamie Crisis and Jeremy Hadley getting a good hand in the Michigan Town crowd. At least a few people know to call Ace Anderson Chicken. He just tried to get the crowd to cheer for him. No luck. Jamie Crisis and Ace Anderson will open up this tag team match. Jamie Crisis and Ace Anderson have been going at it for several minutes here. Their opponents or their partners haven't tagged in yet. Right now, Crisis has the upper hand. Almost got a pinfall, but not quite. And Jeremy Hadley just got tagged. And Excalibur. Two new faces. Jeremy Hadley got a 2 count on Excalibur, but didn't get the pin. He tagged in Jamie Crisis. So now we have a fresh matchup. Jamie Crisis and Excalibur. That was Jamie Crisis slapping Excalibur in the chest. And that was Jamie Crisis after he got a boot to the face. More kicks coming from Excalibur now. Now we're back to Jamie Crisis with Ace Anderson. Ace Anderson is all over Crisis. Oh, 2 count. Crisis started putting up a fight, but he just took a big elbow and went back down. And now he's back in the corner, the wrong corner. Ace Anderson tags in Excalibur. Jamie Crisis was finally able to tag himself out of danger, and Jeremy Hadley has unleashed a couple of flying shoulder blocks on Excalibur. Big kick. But still no 3 count. Hadley was setting up in the corner turnbuckle for something. Excalibur distracted the ref, and Ace Anderson came around and shoved Hadley off the turnbuckles and out to the floor. And now while the ref is still distracted, Anderson's hitting Hadley on the floor. So Hadley's back in the ring now, but not quite as energetic as he was before. Jeremy Hadley is still in peril. Both Ace Anderson and Excalibur have had their turn on him. And they're doing some not quite clean things. Not breaking it until the ref almost counts to 5 and disqualifies them, but not quite there. So they get away with it. Hadley just managed to drop Excalibur on his head, and he's trying to get to his corner for the tag. Excalibur's trying to get to his corner at the same time. Ref was up to an 8 count for the 2 men both on the mat. 2 new participants in the ring, Jamie Crisis and Ace Anderson. And they're both fresh. Crisis just got Anderson with a high knee strike in the corner, and Anderson just returned the favor with a boot. Crisis just hit a Frankensteiner and sent Ace Anderson from one corner almost to the other. Oh, and he would have gotten a 3 count, but Excalibur interfered. Hadley's up on the top turnbuckle. He's going to clear out Excalibur. Yep. So maybe Jamie Crisis and Ace Anderson can finish this up cleanly. Another high knee strike from Crisis, but then a clothesline from Ace Anderson, and now Crisis is down. Anderson almost got Crisis, but just a 2 count. These guys are resilient tonight. Oh, Crisis just tagged in Hadley. The double knee strike, and then Hadley cleared out Excalibur. And finally, Jeremy Hadley gets the pin on Ace Anderson. That was a long match. These guys worked hard. During the match, Excalibur had given Hadley one of those back rake things, you know, with the fingernails dug in and scraped down the back. And Hadley just left the ring, and he had 2 long red gouges all the way down his back from his shoulders almost to his waist. So Excalibur must have really laid that one in there.
Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest is scheduled for one fall. Introducing first, making his home back to the NWIWRAP from Portland, Oregon. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Maddox. And his opponent, ladies and gentlemen, he is NWIWRAP's Triple Crown winner from Bloomington, Indiana. Conniving Kenneth James.
Ron Butcher looked very displeased to have to introduce Menace, I believe his name was, because Menace had done a little shadow boxing, well, shadow kicking at Ron Butcher when he was standing around in the ring waiting for things to get underway. Kenneth James on the other side. The crowd is quiet. They don't. I think a lot of folks here don't know who to cheer for and boo when the workers are first coming out. Now it's a little more clear who is good versus neutral versus evil. Kenneth James imitating a horse. Oh, and he got kicked for his trouble. Kenneth James is doing a whole bunch of nasty things to Menace. Questioning the referee, am I allowed to do this? He clawed his face and stretched his nose up, and his excuse was for the referee that maybe he had something hiding up there. Menace took a break outside the ring, but now he's coming back in. Menace had gone up on the top turnbuckle. Looked like he was going to jump onto Kenneth James, but Kenneth James moved, jumped up and speared him, and Kenneth James gets the pin. Thomas Keith issuing an open challenge. Those always go well. Chris Gordon has walked out, but by himself. So Jason Levi and Chris Gordon are going to end up challenging High Society later on because Thomas Keith issued an open challenge, and that's what you get.
Sit next to your boyfriend, brother, whatever he is. But anyways, I got a little bone to pick with HE down the mansion, and since you know talent or talent relations, whoever it is in here, you're the closest thing. Who the hell do you think you are? Putting me with a rook named Sabotage. Do you guys know who the hell Sabotage is? Don't try this successfully and prove back it doesn't work. Doesn't work. Who are you? Oh, you're the commissioner. Oh, well, come here, honey. I just got a little talk with you. Okay? Come here, come here. Find your teeth. But anyways, I'm not here to play games. I'm glad I realize I'm a faithful family reunion here.
This is scheduled for one fall, introducing first. He hails from Charlottesville, USA. He is Death Con 1, Golden Baby.
I got to see Sabotage's debut match at Backbreaker Wrestling, and now I get to see his debut at New Generation Wrestling. His mouthy opponent, I believe his name was Dylan Davis. Somebody can correct me if I didn't hear that right. He just assumed everybody knew who he was, and he was calling Sabotage a rookie. But I don't know who he is. Sabotage had been out wrestling Davis with moves and smarts, but he just got caught. Davis is trying to pinfall on Sabotage, not successful. Davis pausing to take a sip from his water bottle. Oh, and then he just sprayed a mouthful of water at Sabotage. Sabotage is trying to fight from out from under Davis. Spinning DDT off the turnbuckle helped with that, but now they're both down. Davis has employed a few dirty tricks, hair pulling, attempted finger breaking, biting. Ref got up to 8, but both men got to their feet at the same time. Now it's a slugfest. Davis missed on that one. Clothesline from Sabotage. Elbow from Sabotage. Drop kick from Sabotage. Sabotage up on the top turnbuckle in the corner, and big frog splash. Not a frog splash, just a flying body splash. Sabotage was going for a fireman's carry, but Davis kicked his leg out from under him. Davis only got a 2 count on Sabotage after that. Davis just drop-kicked Sabotage into the corner and now just kind of drops him down onto the mat. Davis climbed up 1 rope, climbed up 2 ropes. Looks like he's going to try a... Well, I don't know what he was going to try, but he missed whatever it was. Sabotage put him up. Gave him an F5 looking thing. Get the pinfall. So Sabotage takes care of his debut match here at NGW. There's the end of the first half of New Generation Wrestling show Michigan Town Mayhem that took place last night in Michigan Town, Indiana. It's about a 2-hour drive from here, but a very pleasant drive. I'm Ken the Metal Professor. You're listening to the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program on WVLP in Valparaiso, Indiana at 103.1 FM. And now I have the delayed audio coverage of half 2 of that show. There were 2 matches in the second half, 5 matches altogether. So this compressed recap won't take as long as the first half, maybe 12 to 15 minutes. And then I think I'll have time for 1 or 2 last metal tunes before the top of the hour. So this is the second half of Michigan Town Mayhem put on by New Generation Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest is scheduled for one fall, and it is for the New Generation Wrestling Hoosier State Championship. Here is first. He comes from Kokomo, Indiana, David Forrest. Houston State champion from the Chevrolet Empire, Bailey Alexander Dawson.
Just to start off the second half, we have dancing David Forrest impressing the crowd with his slick moves on his way to the ring. And Brantley Alexander Dawson for the Brantley's Hoosier State Championship. They don't look particularly in a hurry to lock up here. There we go. Brantley Alexander Dawson celebrating his own clean break. David Forrest wants a test of strength. Dawson doubts that he really wants it, but Dawson also has a hard time reaching up to those hands. And Forrest keeps switching his hands from side to side and turns it into a dance move. It's like watching an octopus in Adidas pants. And Forrest sends Dawson out over the top rope, but he landed on his feet. Now he's just aggravated. Brantley Alexander Dawson has a gift for getting kids involved in the match, and there's a little girl in the front corner opposite the ring for me that has just been giving him the business the entire time. I think you can probably hear her screeching at him. Dawson just gave Forrest a big elbow, but only about a count, 1.5 count there. The battle of wills continues between him and the little girl in the front row. And now he's rubbing Forrest's face along the top rope right in front of her, now gouging his eyes right in front of her. Forrest had a nice little move where he put Dawson in a full Nelson and then gave him a sit-down driver. I'm sure there's a better name for it than that. They both hit the mat out of the full Nelson. And then when they hit the mat, he had Dawson in a scissor lock with his legs. He rolled him halfway over so that Dawson's shoulders are on the mat. It was a nifty move. He only got a 2 count out of it. Then he stood up and decided to dance a little bit. And Dawson took advantage of that. You can hear the result. Brantley Alexander Dawson retains his Hoosier State Championship. Maybe next time Forrest will stay focused instead of having a dance break. It might work for R-Truth, but not here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest is scheduled for one fall, and it is for the New Generation Wrestling Tag Team Championship. Introducing first, he hails from the underground, the one-man war machine, Jason Levi. His opponent, ladies and gentlemen, from Kokomo, Indiana, Chris Gordon. And their opponents, ladies and gentlemen, they are the current NWIWRAP Tag Team Champions, Thomas Keith and Young Money High Society.
So this is the main event, match number 5. The NGW Tag Team titles on the line. The champs, High Society, bravely or foolishly extending an open challenge that's resulted in this match between them against Jason Levi and Chris Gordon. You've got Chris Gordon, who's apt to be kind of quick and agile, and Jason Levi, who just likes to kick people in the face. So it might be a good combination. To start off with, Young Money is in the ring with Chris Gordon, trading headlocks and arm bars. So far, relatively evenly matched. Yeah, Gordon had Young Money in an arm bar until Young Money dragged them both back into the corner, his corner, so that Thomas the Benjamins Keith could tag in. And he wants Jason Levi. That could be his second mistake of the evening, the first being the open challenge in the first place. And he slapped Jason Levi, which was probably his third mistake of the evening, because now Jason Levi is unleashing a bunch of elbows. Oh, but then a nice high-flying knee from Thomas Keith. Oh, and Levi returned the favor. So it's back to even. Running elbow from Keith. And a spinning elbow from Levi. They're trading move for move. Until Levi finally took Thomas Keith down, who escaped the ring and tagged Young Money in. I don't know if a tag is really legal when the person tagging out is outside the ring. But nonetheless, the ref allowed it. Levi and Gordon took care of Young Money, and now both of High Society are outside the ring, walking around asking for a timeout. Jason Levi just picked up Chris Gordon and threw him over the top rope onto High Society, who caught him. And while High Society was holding Chris Gordon, Levi jumped out over the top rope onto all three of them. Jason Levi just got a good rapid kick and punch combination onto Young Money to rescue himself. Both men tagged out, so now it's Thomas Keith and Chris Gordon in the ring. Thomas Keith just dropped an elbow onto the head of a prone Chris Gordon. Almost got a 2 count after a leg hook suplex. Chris Gordon is by far the lightest person in the ring. He just came off the top turnbuckle at Thomas Keith. And Thomas Keith just caught him and then slammed him down. Now Keith has him stretched out over his knee so that Young Money can drop down with an elbow on top of his chest or throat. But Gordon kicks out. Gordon's gotten in a couple of bursts of offense, but for the most part, he's just taking a lot of punishment. But High Society has not been able to get a 3 count yet. Jason Levi is anxious to get back into things. Gordon just turned one of Keith's moves into a backstabber. Pulled Keith down and drove both of his own knees into Keith's back. He was almost going to make the tag until Young Money jumped in the ring and dragged him away. That slap you heard was not a legal tag from Young Money to Thomas Keith, but I bet the ref's going to buy it. Yeah. Because when the ref's back is turned and he hears a loud slap like that, you know it was a tag. That was a big suplex up and over by Young Money onto Chris Gordon. I think Gordon's going to have to take some Tylenol tonight. Young Money has tagged in Thomas Keith. And now he slingshots Thomas Keith into the corner. Misses Gordon. When he's trying to clothesline Gordon, Young Money missed and accidentally clotheslined Thomas Keith. And Gordon managed to take them both down at the same time on their heads. See if he can get back over and tag out. Gordon's swimming to the corner. There we go. He's finally tagged in Jason Levi. There's a forearm, another forearm. Uranagi. And a sort of a springboard stunner out of the corner onto Thomas Keith. And he's going to pick up Chris Gordon, use him as a weapon, throws him head first right into Thomas Keith's gut. Other side, same thing, head first goes Gordon into Young Money's gut. And then the two folks from High Society are slammed into each other. And now a double drop kick. One to each. It's almost a simultaneous pin, but both of High Society kicked out. There is just a cascade of big moves, one after the other, until all four men are down. Thomas, Keith, and Jason Levi are in the ring at the moment. Now it's a slugfest. Keith planted Jason Levi into the mat. Now he tagged in Young Money, who's up in the corner. For his big leg drop, which missed Jason Levi. Now Young Money is not happy. Chris Gordon has come in without a tag, and he's taken Young Money out over the top rope. So we're back to our two legal men in the ring. Keith and Levi. Levi had Keith up on his shoulders for nothing. And then Keith rolled him up, and he's pinned Levi for a 3 count. Even Keith looks surprised. Jason Levi was under the rope at the time, though, and he's protesting. The ref kind of doing High Society a favor there by calling for the 3 count when Jason Levi was under the ropes a little bit. Maybe NGW Commissioner Nina Valentine will use that as a reason for a rematch. Oh, but Levi's getting his revenge. He's just put Thomas Keith up on his shoulder and drives him down into the mat. And now he invites Gordon to do some damage too, but Young Money pulls Keith out of the ring. So I'm pretty sure High Society's going to hit the road now while they're ahead. And that's it. That's the end of the NGW event here in Michigan Town, Indiana. I had fun driving down here. Hopefully I will stay awake driving home. Wait for word here on the next NGW event, if they announce it. Gordon and Levi getting a nice hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming and seeing us here tonight. Appreciate each and every one of you. We're looking forward to coming back to Michigan Town in the near future. This new generation wrestling comes out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Be safe, everyone. We'll see you next time.
All right, so Ron Butcher has wrapped up. No word on a next event. So keep an eye on Facebook. New Generation Wrestling Indiana is how you can find them. That's it. That's the end of the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program on WVLB 103.1 FM in Valparaiso. We'll be back next week with hopefully a special guest. Maybe we'll try again with Excalibur. And on July 7th, hot off of his recent appearance at Backbreaker Wrestling, Dick Davis is going to be in the studio, and I'm excited about that. So I'll talk to you later.
And just to correct myself, the tentative schedule is July 7th, Dick Davis will be special guest in the studio, and then July 14th, Excalibur. We're waiting till July 14th because that's the day after he'll be up here performing at ARW Pro, and there will be more to talk about at that point. That's the wrap for the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program. I think I have time for one last metal tune here before the 10 o'clock hour. I hate to leave you without sending you away with some good sounds here. So I'm going to play a quick track by the new Mirath CD Shahili. And then after that, I'll turn you back over to the regular WVLP programming. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Mostly Metal in the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program. I'm Ken the Metal Professor. Come on back next week, Sunday nights, 8 o'clock. Replay Wednesday at 10 p.m. Nighttime.